Hey, welcome back. This is Shah. We got another It's Complicated channel video for you. This one's called Only Want Sex. So let's see what these men and women have to say about that.
Do you believe that men initially do really nice things for women because they eventually want sex?
A majority of the time.
If so, why would a woman ever accept an extravagant offer from a man if she wasn't interested in having sex?
Because why not just get what you can?
It's funny hearing her admit that right there, a lot of women will say, I don't owe anyone anything, no matter what they do for a man. I don't know if you've ever heard. Sometimes people will say, they'll be like, sex is transactional, and to me that's just one of those statements that's like, it kind of loses its meaning, and I don't think it always applies. It's like a transaction. You go in somewhere, you know how much it's going to cost, you know what you're going to get. When it comes to sex, you don't exactly. So it's not so much a transaction.
There are some greedy broads out there, If you're not going to give when you take.
I mean, they're the ones asking you, and they don't have to do something extravagant. It's a choice, and they're choosing to do it, and you're just accepting it. It is what it is.
It is also a choice to accept the thing that they're doing for them. So both people are making a choice here.
Isn't that leading a man on?
Yes. And I don't agree with it.
Yes, leading a man on for extravagant said offer without putting out.
Nice guy and a good man. Nice guys will play the part because they're expecting something in return. Nice guys will do favors for women with the expectation of sex as a return favor. Good men will do favors because out of the goodness of their heart for the goodness of humanity and without expecting something in return.
That's kind of like a woman who will sort of play a traditional role. She's going to fold up all your laundry, do these things, cook for you. And it's just because she's trying to get that ring on her finger. You know what I mean? But she's not really doing it from the goodness of her heart. She's doing it because she's trying to lock down a deal.
Why do so many women think sex is the only thing men care about when it's usually just the first thing?
Probably because we all been through the same shit over and over and over again. Like, every guy that walks up to you, that's what they want from you. Like, they want to sleep with you. It's like hit it and quit it type shit, period.
They think
men obviously want sex, you know what I mean? And what attracts us to women most of the time is what they look like, heck, probably all of the time. But I think this issue stems from women not wanting to do their part to get a guy to want to commit to them. Men got to do what they got to do to get you in bed, but you got to set the hook also on your side so a guy can think in his brain, like, you know what? She's actually pretty cool. Maybe I do want her in my life. And it's like, you think you're just going to trade sex and then some guy's going to magically want to be with you and you don't got to do anything else, then you're not seeing the game right.
it's the only thing because, we vultures, we men, we lions out here. We pounce on everything we see.
If you're gonna fuck me on the first date, then I don't want to be with you because you obviously don't care about anything else than what the fuck I look like.
I believe that a lot of women think it's the only thing a man cares about because it's the first thing. Because for women, we tend to prioritize where something is going, where the intentions are, where the investments are, whereas a man likes to start with the sex and then determine whether or not he wants to factor in any of those other things. And because of that, that is one of the last things we consider most often, whereas that's one of the first things men consider. For us, it feels like if that's what they're jumping to, then all the things before it must not matter to them.
I mean, that definitely comes from a kind of disparity between the genders and in mindset over sex, and I think what creates that is availability. So for guys, I mean, it's not easy to get sex. You got to put in a lot of work, do all these kinds of things to make that happen. It's kind of the first thing on your mind because it's really coveted. Where like a woman, like that woman in the video, it's not going to be that hard for her to procure. So that's not what she values in the same way. She can use it to leverage, but at the same time, if it's something she really wants, then she's going to be able to get it relatively easily. And then at that point, all the rules anyways go out the window. Like, oh, what's your intentions? What's this and that? They're just going to make it real easy for somebody. And then they'll be like, oh, that was just this. It wasn't meaningful.
What is the first thing that pops into your head when you see a really hot guy?
Damn.
damn, he's hot.
I hope he notices me.
I observe how much work he's taken to get there, the physical and mental discipline that it would have taken to get to that point. I reflect on the fact that that must have taken some...
I gotta be honest, like the way she's answering that question, it just seems like she's trying to get the right answer. I mean, he's asking, what do you first think of when you see someone? You're not gonna be sitting here and in that split second, your first impression is gonna think about, wow, look at all that work and time it took to do that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what the first girl said, like that person's hot.
Good qualities and character for him to have achieved that look. I don't immediately think about, oh, I want to sleep with him. I more observe the amount.
I think that I see them and they're hot and I just want to sleep with them.
Thank you. Thank you so much for interrupting this other woman and it's just telling the truth. Thank you so much.
What are your thoughts on the following expression? Men fall in love with their eyes, women fall in love with their ears.
I think that's true because men say tend to say a lot of things to get to a woman to do certain things. Like they lie and stuff like that, or may like love bomb kind of, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's meaning those kind of things. And women believe it.
I think the statement is kind of true in terms of men falling in love with their eyes and women with their ears, because when men run into women that are constantly going to have that shield up, they eventually, after enough practice, they learn ways to sort of tell the woman sweet words until she opens up a bit. And then that's how, you really end up in a position where, well, after they get what they want, then they might just get rid of you, and now you're screwed. But on the other side of that, it's like men get locked down through their ears. They might fall in love through their eyes, but they get locked down through their ears. Because on the back end of that is a woman's going to say all the right things to get you to want to marry them. You know what I mean? So they might sound completely different before the marriage, and then right after the marriage, what your ears are hearing is going to be really different too. So it works both ways.
Isn't that why women wear makeup and it's why men lie?
Yeah,
No.
exactly true.
I like how they're both saying the opposite thing.
No.
And also pretty girls have endless opportunities with the same guy.
That's so funny. She's the hero right here. Thank you.
Isn't that why women wear makeup and it's why men lie?
That's cute. I like it, but men also have beards to hide their faces.
And hats.
Oh, I feel personally attacked right now. Now, I can't be mad at her. That is true. A lot of us guys will use a beard to, how shall we say, accentuate our jawlines, which may or may not be existent.
So we all do things to hide our faces with the eyes and appear better looking to people.
When it comes to relationships, what do women bring to the table?
We're women, we're just superior, period.
Some women believe that they don't have to bring anything to the table, and just by being a woman, that's enough. Other women believe that they should bring character, morals, standards.
If you're a woman and you believe you don't have to bring anything to the table, then you're kind of saying you're only good for sex, basically. And then that's, there seems to be a relationship between the women who don't think they need to bring anything to the table and then also believing guys only want sex. Well, it's because that's all you're offering.
Standards, loyalty, intellect, conversation, fun, livelihood.
What do I bring to the table?
So I'm thinking.
Nothing.
Sense of
Literally
humor?
nothing.
No.
Yeah, humor. I do a lot in the beginning too. I also put myself out there and pretend like I'm a very homely homemaker. And then
There it is. See, this is what we were talking about, the ears, when they're trying to lock down something. They pretend that there's something. Suddenly the strong and independent thing goes away. Now they're very submissive. They take direction well. They want a traditional home. They'll start making all these noises. You know what I mean?
And as time goes on, I let that go.
Oh my God. Wow. God bless her for telling us the truth. I'm not even mad at her.
A lot of women have brought those things to the table, and then they've gotten screwed by men who took advantage of what they were bringing to the table. Now, unfortunately, I do believe that men have a mentality of, you think about a mentality that a man is taught for work. Get as much as you can for as little effort as possible. That's how you climb the ladder. Most men are not taught how to do relationships. They're taught how to succeed in the workplace. And a lot of men, because they aren't taught relationships from their fathers, they transfer that mentality into relationships. What we end up seeing then is men that are testing the waters. How little can I put in for a maximum return?
A lot of men nowadays have witnessed what happened to their fathers in divorce court. You know, they got dragged through a sexless marriage. They got screwed over really badly. There's just way too many nightmare stories out here. A lot of kids grew up watching their parents get separated and witnessing that. So that's what makes the game tougher for these ladies right here. Is now they're dealing with guys who are a little bit more wise to the situation.
And women feel used. Because of that, women feel like they don't have to bring anything to the table anymore, and that they should just be appreciated for just simply being there. And it's a very toxic cycle.
Yes, it is a very toxic cycle. I agree with that.
Men are typically expected to court women, approach women, ask them out on dates, pick them up, pay for dates, make the first move. What are women expected to do to build a relationship?
Well,
not to mention, once you get them into bed, then perform really well. I mean, that doesn't really go away. I mean, all the expectations and the pressure men have to deal with are kind of there constantly, regardless.
a woman is where it all starts. Like, without a woman, there would be no relationship. Like, I don't know. Men don't know what they're doing without a woman. So, like, why do you think men are always chasing women? Because what are they supposed to do without us?
Men and women both need each other. I mean, it takes two for the relationship.
I mean, stereotypically, women are supposed to be these pretty little feathers that, you know, guys can pick up and you can wine and dine and take home. So that's what they're supposed to bring to the table.
Could that possibly be a reason why so many men want sex without relationships?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is it fair to assume that the women who complain men only want sex is because sex is all those women are bringing to the table?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what it becomes, you know, like, and especially as men and women tend to get married later in life. If men are getting married in their late 20s, around age 30, you know, they've had years at this point of learning how to do their laundry, learning how to cook for themselves, and a lot of the stuff that traditionally women are supposed to do for them. And so it kind of becomes, well, what are you doing? What are you doing for me other than that, right?
Oh, well, I'm a woman, so I'm crazy. I can do whatever I want, and he should just bring everything, and I'm just going to sit back in my golden throne and watch what he brings to the table. Women should humble themselves and work on their character so that they have something to bring to the relationship as well.
Yeah, that goes back. I mean, I keep using the word hook. I mean, it's incumbent on the woman to do something from her side to kind of hook the guy into wanting to be committed to her, you know. And the problem is everyone wants to get a guarantee on the deal, but before the action happens, you know what I mean? Like, you can't compartmentalize sex into this kind of left brain activity where I'm going to exchange this for this. You have to actually, you know, cultivate a bond on your part, and there's no guarantee of getting anything. Just like women don't owe men sex, men do not owe women a commitment, even if it's 5 years later, 6 years later, whatever it is. So, you know, he doesn't marry you at that point. He never owed you anything. It's the same logic being put to you. You just got to deal with it.
Who is more shallow, men or women?
Sorry. Both. We all are. We all are.
I'll give her that. You know, I don't want to say it's a trick question, but, you know, obviously I kind of expected her to say men, and then I'd be like, no, it was women. You know, but I'm kind of glad she said both, because we both are in our own ways. You know, I've definitely met very shallow women. It usually goes hand in hand with them being insecure about themselves a lot of the time.
Women are more shallow because they want too many things out of this world. It's like you can never please them. No matter how much you give, it's like you still got to keep giving. At Tiffany & Co., Fendi, that's why all these stores are here, Louis Vuitton. They can't get enough of these Birkin bags. It's crazy.
Are women more shallow because they want too many things, or are men more shallow because they only want one thing?
Women expect the impossible sometimes, I think.
That's a good point. I don't know.
When it comes to dating, do women care more about what men actually want or what women think men should want?
The first one.
What do men actually want?
I don't know.
I like the way that question is phrased. I think a lot of people kind of operate based off of what they think someone should want, you know. I kind of run into this phenomenon in my life where I see that people will give their support to someone who espouses the same beliefs as them, even if their actions don't exactly reflect that, you know. And, you know, you might see this in like politicians even, or even in smaller friend circles. Someone can have the right opinion, but they might actually be doing things that are kind of harmful overall. But people will still be like, no, that person's a good person. But someone may have opinions you don't agree with, but then if you actually look at how they live their life, they're actually good for the community. And it's kind of an interesting thing to see.
I wish I did know. I think we're all kind of wondering.
No, I think women care about what they want, like what she wants. When I go on a date, I don't care what he wants. Like, I'm looking if I really like the guy, not if that guy is liking me back.
When we're picking a long-term mate, we're going to be looking for men that want things that we want, meaning long-term relationships, loyalty. They're going to want to put aside selfishness in order to preserve the betterment of the commitment between the two of those people. And there are a lot of men that want that, but it's not to say that men that want casual sex or hookups or whatever it is, that we don't think that they should want that. We're just looking for the ones that want what we think they should want, and typically what we think they should want is going to line up with what we want.
You know, the problem is that that's what they want at a later point. You know, that what they want changes, you know, as far as them getting in a relationship. Early on, a lot of the times they're out there having fun and that's what they want. They don't care about the guys. Later on, it's, well, now I'm looking for a quote unquote long-term mate. Where before they weren't doing that, and they're basically looking for a provider and all that kind of stuff to help them along there. But the problem is unless they were looking for that from the beginning, they kind of become less marketable in that regard. And it's unfortunate.
When you first meet a guy, how do you decide if he's going to be a friend or more than a friend? And more importantly, when do you decide? Because it's often said a woman will know right away.
Vibes, energy. You can feel it in the energy. If you don't connect with somebody right away, then like I feel like there's no point. Like there's no point at all. Why would you have to work for it when there's people out there when it's just like a snap, like you just feel it?
Okay, see right there, we were just talking about sex is not transactional. Not in the way people usually say that. I don't believe it is. Okay. And then that woman on that was just on the screen, energy, vibes, you just know it right away. Does that sound like transactional to you? You know, if someone says you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to get sex with me, you're talking to a hooker. You're talking to a prostitute. That's just completely different from how things work organically and naturally. So if someone starts coming with you with this transactional stuff, you need to know there's something wrong with that person and dip out of there.
You can tell if you're attracted to somebody instantly, but I also have had bonds that have grown. So you can't really tell. I don't care what people say. You can have an instant attraction, but it can grow.
I was married and I got unmarried because I had an instant attraction with somebody one time.
God, that sounds horrible. Well, that guy definitely took an L who had to deal with that. And probably most other men who deal with this are going to have to take an L if you're looking at her for more than just sex. If you're looking at her like she's basically qualifying herself as I'm only good for sex, right? If you ever commit to this, you're about to go down a dark hole.
What is the difference between a romantic relationship versus friends with benefits?
Well, if it's friends with benefits, you're f***ing. If you're in a relationship, there's an emotional connection.
Yeah, usually friends with benefits, which I've had before in the past, is just, hey, can we hook up? Cool. Okay, we're done. Great, bye.
So, okay, then I guess that would mean that women only want sex too, right? Otherwise, why would they do that?
Who is more likely to want friends with benefits, men or women?
Whoever's hornier.
Oh, that's funny. I'm not mad at her. I kind of like her answers, honestly.
Who is more likely to want friends with benefits, men or women?
Men.
Why?
Because women don't bring much to the relationship side of it. That's why. It's just easier to do the friends with benefits thing. The incentivization to get into a long-term committed relationship that leads to marriage, which brings its own host of legal obligations, is just kind of eroding.
Isn't that an obvious answer?
If men typically just want sex, why aren't most relationships friends with benefits?
Because women get what they want.
I don't think men just typically want sex. They also want belonging and love too. But of course, on the stereotypical outside, they want sex. But guess what? Women these days want sex too. And now we're more open and honest about it.
What's the difference between the type of woman men want to sleep with and the type men want relationships with?
Men want to sleep with someone who they consider sexy and hot, but they want a relationship with someone that they want to have a family with and have kids with.
Are women today more interested in relationships or hookups?
I feel like low-key hookups because relationships are shit.
We want relationships. Like, here's my opinion on the situation. I think most women want relationships, but they've been taught that relationships are not going to give them anything worthwhile. So they've been taught that the only way for them to get ahead is to play into hookup culture. So most women are engaging in hookup culture, but if you really get down to what they want relationships. But they've given up on them.
So if women are more interested in hookups, how can a man let a woman know he just wants to hook up without making her feel like a slut?
I say just be straight up.
That the straight up thing's not going to work. You can't do that. If you have to make them feel like they're not, a whore, right? You have to make them desire you. If you go in there and you just say, hey, this is what I want, it's very unlikely that's going to happen. They would like you to say that, but not because they're going to then give you something after, because then it's going to feed into their notion of this guy only wants sex from me, right? So
He can just say it to her face. It's not so hard to be honest.
Just say it.
Say it. Be honest.
He could tell her straight up over the text, or before they even get to meeting, before, like, let it be known, let the line be known before anything starts,
If women want honesty, why do they complain that men only want sex?
If women want honesty, why do they complain when men only want sex? That's a good ass question.
This whole thing just comes from, a long time ago, women did not need to have sex with the man in order to find a marriage and to get that long-term commitment. I mean, it was embedded in the culture around us, and it was reinforced by societal values. So people were pointed in that direction. Nowadays, that's degenerated, right? It's rotted away, and men have figured out what they got to do in order to get sex from women. They know how to set the hook. The real fishermen out here. When women want a relationship, they need to know how to do that on their end. Like they need to learn how to set the hook, how to catch that fish. And some of them are really good at that. That's how you get these high profile child support cases and divorce cases out here. But you can complain about relationships. It just means that if women are the ones complaining about that, they need to bring a better game into this scenario in order to get that.
They can't handle the truth. It looks like basically they can't handle the truth because
they can't, and which is why you can't just be like, hey, I want to hook up with you.
Because if you tell them the truth that you just want it for one night.
Are women more impressed by what a guy is willing or unwilling to do in order to get sex?
Ooh. Kind of like both. Like, I don't know. Kind of what they're willing to do.
Because they'll go to. I feel like they'll go to an extreme.
So do you like?
It's a good question because women will require a lot from one man in order to get sex, but then they will give it up easily and in high amounts to someone who's not giving them anything, and women are incredibly attracted to that sort of bad boy type who doesn't give them the attention they want. And then what they do is they then use sex as a leverage to try to get that person's attention. Versus the other guy, I mean, we've seen this in a bunch of you know, divorces and divorce stories and things like this, where the guy is trying everything and has frankly provided everything humanly possible, and is still having trouble with that. So when you ask that question, it really highlights that, because it goes back to sex being transactional. Well, it might be transactional for some, but then not transactional for others. The guy's not really giving her anything to get it, and he's getting more of it than the guy who's paying, you know, in one way or another.
Thinking of a guy like will simp for you, kind of, or
Yeah, that shit's hot.
Yeah.
But like not on a level that it's like you're too nice to me. Like don't be too nice to me.
so like be nice but not too nice.
Nah, don't be too
Yes.
nice. Like don't like
Exactly.
No, like we gotta like be kind of toxic.
Oh man, women like toxic guys.
It's a real thing.
See, there it is, right there.
If he is extremely nice, that gives like a feminine energy vibe, so it's like a turn off, and it's like a completely no, like friend zone.
If a woman gives a man sex right away, do you think he's gonna think more or less of her?
I believe that oftentimes men will think less because they may view her as easy to access, and that may make them doubt whether or not she's going to stay loyal long term. That does not necessarily mean that that's true, but it does mean it might give the man that impression.
That's a good point. I think especially for guys that kind of been around the block a lot more and have more experiences in the past, they're probably going to believe that.
Why would the man automatically see her as easy to access as opposed to seeing himself as the right guy who she'll break rules for?
You know what's funny? I actually do believe that a lot of people get into that mindset of thinking they're going to be the special one that changes somebody's nature. And I think a lot of men and women fall into that. I don't really believe that any man is going to just jump to conclusions rather than thinking he's the special exception that's going to change her. I think that is completely dependent on the man.
Anyways, go check out It's Complicated channel. Give him a subscribe, give him a like on the video, and check out some of his other stuff. I really enjoy the questions. The way he asks the questions is, it makes people have to think about their preconceived notions really well. And hit the like button, hit the subscribe button here, and let me know what you think down below. We'll see you on the next one.